What's going on, Sean Kanan? How we doing today, brother? Great to see you, man.
Good to see you, man. How's Vegas?
Vegas is excellent. The weather is fantastic. They opened up the pools and the hot tubs again and the gyms, so we can
Oh, wow.
actually like live life, brother.
I'm in Puerto Rico right now, and they are so COVID phobic around here. You can't, if you're walking on a street outside and you don't have your mask, the cops will stop you. It's
Wow, it's
nuts.
like that over there, huh?
Yeah, you go in any restaurant or grocery store, pretty much any business whatsoever, they take your temperature right there.
Wow, man. I was going to ask you about what it's like, the experience in Puerto Rico, because I've done some traveling recently, which we'll get to a little bit later. Sacramento, a little bit north. You know about that. We're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Right,
There's a lot of
right.
stuff to unpack there.
Yeah.
I went back to Jersey to visit family. Now I'm chilling in Vegas. Eventually, me and the wife want to get out to New Orleans and stuff like that. But how's your family been? How's everything been since we last spoke, man?
Everything's great. Luckily we're healthy, we're thriving, we're doing well. Promoting the book. Working on a film right now. I'm pretty fortunate.
Dude, okay, so let's get right to it.
Okay.
Cobra. This thing I could not put down. This is amazing. There's so much to go through here. Now, I don't want to spoil it. I mean, if you want to reveal certain things, of course, you're welcome to do so.
Sure.
But there's a lot of things I want to unpack about, first of all, how brilliantly motivating this thing is.
Thank you very much.
It's a motivational masterpiece, Sean.
Wow, thank you.
It's absolutely incredible. So, guys, like, your traditional book has chapters. This one has belt rankings.
Right.
And every time you get to like that was the addiction to read the book, is that you
Belt, right?
you want to get a next belt. And I would tell my wife, I'm like, babe, I just got green belt. I just got blue belt, And I was so pumped when I got it. I couldn't wait for it. I did read it cover to cover, and I want to unpack this thing. But my first question for you, brother, is like, what brought on this whole idea to write such a great, motivational book of self-help?
A couple of things. The first thing I can tell you is, and I say this in the book, that, about 3 years ago, I found myself in a place I think a lot of people can relate to. I had some success in my life. I'd had some epic failures, and I was looking in the mirror going, okay, what's next? What's my next act going to be? And I was 35 pounds overweight. I had no real prospects for acting work. And I realized I was going to have to do some things very differently, very quickly. And, I say that I wasn't going to wait for my ship to come in. I was going to build the damn ship. I just had to figure out how to do it. And so I started doing certain things very differently. And I started having some amazing results pretty quickly. And during the course of that year, when I started implementing these changes, strategies, and philosophy, which I talk about in the book, I co-authored Success Factor X, my second book, which became an Amazon new release bestseller. I co-created Studio City, which is on Amazon Prime, and was nominated for 8 Emmys, and we won one, and I lost the 35 pounds. And I don't tell people that to impress them, but I say it to impress upon them what is possible. And, there's some things that I did that I think anyone can do. And if you do, you're going to start to experience some very significant changes in your life. So that was one of the reasons. The other reason that the book was written, I've always written, and I was working on another book, and it was the genesis for what became this book. When the whole phenomenon of Cobra Kai happened, I said to myself, okay, look, I know people might say, I'm riding the gravy train, I'm milking the cow, whatever. But what I did was I took a lot of the philosophy from the previous book and I tailored it to Way of the Cobra, because I thought to myself, this is such a juggernaut, the worldwide success of Cobra Kai, and, my place in the Karate Kid universe. I said, I'd be silly not to tap into such a huge existing audience, because otherwise, what am I going to do? I'm going to sell like half a dozen books and 6 of those people will be my family members. I want to get this book in people's hands because I know that the information in this book is transformative.
It's an amazing read, man. And let me tell you guys right now, get a highlighter when you read this bad boy. And he tells you that in the beginning, and it's funny. It's like you were almost talking to me while I was reading it, because you were like, get a highlighter. I'm like, all right, I just got it. It's so crazy. And that's what I love about it. The quizzes, like the format of the book, the structure of the book is where I'm going here. I love the structure is that, in the first kind of beltings, you kind of give out, instructions and format of things, quizzes to challenge yourself. And then what I love when we get to Blue Belt, which is one of my favorite chapters, is that you really open up about your own personal life and make it relatable to the things that you were talking about. So it plays out like a very well manufactured song. How long did it take you to write this thing?
It took me a couple years, actually.
I would think so.
With the other book, the book that this was previously intended to be, I worked on it off and on. I worked on it off and on for a couple years, but ultimately they became the notes that led me to write this. Once I actually started writing, I would say about a year. But you talk about the fact that I open up a lot, and the book is structured that you're a student in my dojo, the Dojo of Life, Cobra being an acronym formed from the words character, optimization, balance, respect, and abundance. I'm the sensei. But the reason it's important for me to open up is that, I'm not a guru at the top of the mountain. What I am is a Sherpa trying to help you up the mountain, because I've made every mistake in the book. And the only way I think to connect with my reader is to say, hey, listen, I don't have all the answers. I'm learning along with you still. And I want you to know that I've made every mistake in the book. And I'm going to share some personal stuff with you so you know that what I'm saying to you is honest. Because I feel like if the reader doesn't believe me and doesn't connect with me, they're not going to listen to me. And, I also say in the book, there's not a whole lot in the book that is going to be absolutely revelatory that you've never heard before, because I believe that in the universe, there are certain things that are true. They're just true. And, if you've got a dad that you've got a bad relationship with, say, and he's giving you this advice, maybe it's something I say in the book, but you can't hear it because you're too focused on the issues you're having in the relationship with your dad, right? So I say, maybe I'm going to finally be the guy that's going to tell you something you've heard a lot, but you're finally going to accept the message coming, in this packaging.
This is what's great about this book, guys. When you have the read and enjoy the read, it's an amazing read. Right off the bat, Sean does tell you this. He's like, here's the bad news. Here's the good news. He's like, I'm not going to fix your life for you, but I can get you on a better pathway. Hopefully this is what worked for me type of thing. And what's funny, I was reading, I think it was the white belt chapter, and my phone was blowing up. And I'm not going to lie, I was tempted to, get back to some people, and I didn't do it. And then I was so proud. I told my wife, I'm like, I just read a part of this book where Sean was saying, if your phone's blowing up, don't answer it. Stay with me. Stick in here. Stay in this dojo. I'm like, yes. So I'm passing all the tests, and then a couple of the early tests, the quizzes, I did pass, but I got to 1 or 2. I was like, oh no, he got me. But I think it's a brilliant read. You don't come across as anything like belittling to people. You're speaking from experience. You're speaking from, great beliefs of obviously literature. You've read a lot. You use a lot of inspiring quotes. One of my favorites was The Enemy Within. I thought was great. Star Trek reference. That was really powerful. And that happens to be one of my favorite Rush songs of all time. Yeah. One of the lyrics is, I'm not giving in to insecurity under pressure. I'm not going to miss out on the promise of adventure. It's all about facing fears. And, so I love that segment, especially in the Blue Belt, when you just really tackled fears, man, and you really explained it in such a amazing way. So can you tell me a little bit about what happened in that mid-act of this book in terms of getting to that point? Because again, the structure is so amazing.
Well, the first part of the book is getting the reader to identify themselves as someone who needs the book. And so, I put some things out there and say, is this you? And once you say, okay, that's me, now you're ready to learn. And the book has a couple different parts, but I talk about there are obstacles that are internal obstacles and there's external ones. And the internal ones are far and away more difficult to deal with. So the internal ones are primarily dealing with fear. And, there's two great motivating forces in the world. They're love and fear. That's what changes people. Okay. People change for only those two reasons. And everyone deals with fear, and there's different types of fear. And you have to learn to make fear an ally. And it takes a certain degree of mental toughness. It's something that I still am learning to do. But if you can learn to make fear an ally, and if you can learn, say fear of failure is one of the fears that I talk about. And I say, as an actor, 98% of the time when I audition for a job, I don't get it. People only see me when I'm working, and I work more than most actors work. But if I allowed failure to control me, I wouldn't be able to walk in another audition room ever again. So what's really important, and this ties into fear, is how we attach stories to things. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So it's imperative that you attach a positive story to the circumstances in your life. For instance, when I don't get a role, I don't look at it as a failure. I look at it like, okay, did I get to read for a producer that wasn't familiar with my work? Did I get to prepare for an audition that maybe the role is outside of my wheelhouse? Did somebody that, maybe they weren't a fan of mine. And when I say that, I mean, maybe they didn't really like me as an actor in the business, and I got to kind of change their perception. And even though I didn't get the job, you got to take that as a win and attach that positive story. And one of the things I talk about is, human beings have the incredible, we're terrible historians. Human beings are terrible historians. If you thought about a really important event in your life and you directed the movie of that event as you see it, and then we all watch that movie and we go, okay, that's interesting. That's great, Johnny. And then we actually watch God's movie, the universe's movie of what really happened. At best, you're probably about 30% accurate, right? Because we look at things through the prism of sociologically where we are, how we were brought up, our parents or lack of parents, everything. All these things go into our perception. So if we agree that we're horrible historians, and we agree with the fact that, we generally don't get things right, why not attach a positive story to something that's going to empower you rather than some negative story that you're going to wear around your neck like an anvil and that's going to preclude you from getting your success. Here's a great analogy, and I give this in the book. Two boys are raised in two identical households. The father is an alcoholic. He can't keep a job. He's physically abusive. He drinks away the money. And the first son, unfortunately, grows up to mirror his father. He becomes an alcoholic, abusive, can't keep a job. The second boy in the other home says, I am never going to put my family at risk like that. I'm never going to cause the kind of chaos my father caused. I'm never going to be the shit father my dad was. I'm not going to drink, or if I do, it's going to be in moderation. And he grows up to have a very successful life, dramatically changing the trajectory of his life. And if you ask both of those boys why they arrived at the point that they arrived at, you know what they're going to say? Because I watched my father. You know what the difference is? They each attached a different story. And the thing is, as human beings, we rarely are able to see the 30,000-foot view of what an event really means. I'll give you a perfect example. I got divorced. It must be like 20 years ago now. But at the time, it was devastating. I saw it as a failure. It was, every bad thing that you can associate with it, I digested. And in reality, had I been able to project out past the immediate horizon of my myopia, my nearsightedness, and I realized that is what freed me up to meet my wife, Michelle, who is, she's my soulmate. She's my everything. Okay. Would I have been so destroyed in the moment? Now, there's a flip side to that coin, which is if you can take that feeling of failure and use it as a catalyst to propel you to look inside yourself and to grow, then you've now made a friend of failure. You've now, made a friend of the fear of failure, the fear of I'll never be loved again, the fear of all that sort of crap, that monkey chatter that as human beings we have.
Exactly, brother. And that was so well said. There is a segment from your book I want to read here. One of the many quotes that I've highlighted. Guys, use highlighters. Okay.
I love it.
When reading this thing, like right away, I was like, man, this is great. We're in the blue belt section, as we were talking about. Let go of control and embrace the art of surrender. When you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. That's where you have the power. When I read that, I had to close the book and go to the gym and honestly fuck shit up on the heavy bag.
Good for you.
Yeah, I mean, I understood that mentality.
The only thing we have control over is how we choose to react to the stimuli that affects us. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're not going to look, you're not going to control other people. Okay. You're not. And if you do, you got to do it by kind of muscling them and forcing, a square peg into a round hole, and it's going to rebel sooner or later. You're certainly, I say in the book, you want to think you're in control? Let me tell you something. All you got to go do is go outside, look at the sun, which is a dying star, which is eventually going to go supernova, turn into a black hole, suck our Earth into it, and everything will be gone. So if you think you're in control, think again. That's all you have to do. But if you realize that what you have to do, and again, this is something that takes a lot of mental toughness and discipline, and it takes practice through failure. It's how you allow yourself to respond to different situations. And something that has kind of become my mantra is the term "we shall see." And you remember the story about the Chinese farmer?
Yes, I do.
And the thing is, we don't really know what an event in our life is actually going to manifest. And that's why I always say, we shall see. And when you read the book, I won't spoil the story because it really is one of my favorite stories in the book.
It's a great story.
And I wish I had wrote it, but I really just, it's something that's been handed down for generations. But like I said, there's certain truths in the universe, and that is a truth.
Yeah. What I want to ask you is about the quotes. You use some amazing quotes from all different walks of life of people, from artists to musicians to, just everybody out there imaginable. Like, where did it just like pop off in your brain to just come up with that?
The best ones I got from my wife. My wife has some great
It's
quotes.
always the wife. I'm telling you, same with me.
Hey, listen, my wife Michelle's a queen cobra. I'm a big fan of Winston Churchill. I like a lot of the things that Nietzsche said. I like a lot of, I like things that Buddha said. I like things that Jesus said. I like, there's certain things that are true. You look at, and I'm not a religious guy, but, Jesus said that which we reap, so shall we sow, right? Buddha said karma, the law of cause and effect. What you put out, you get. These are true. It doesn't matter who the messenger is that's saying it. Okay. And so, I find a lot of the quotes that I use in the book, a lot of these great people say the same things in different ways because they've had that awakening where they've recognized some of these truths.
Yeah, I definitely could tell that you're a very spiritual person, by reading this book, and especially with the meditation, and the philosophies. Like, I definitely caught like a big like Buddhism vibe, and I like a segment. I like all the segments, to be honest with you. I think it's a great read. But there was times where you talked about like the morning routine. That's the most important thing you could do.
Absolutely.
Like, drink water, put some reggae on, relax, and get yourself focused and think about the motivational vehicles and tools of inspiration to get your why, like you talk about a lot in the book.
The morning routine is something that is critical. It's had a profound effect on my ability to succeed. And I distilled it down to a couple things. The first thing I do, and it doesn't matter whether you're religious or not, for me, I get on my knees, I thank God, I start in gratitude. I think of 5 things I'm thankful for. Just the fact that you wake up and you're breathing. The fact that you're born in the greatest country in the world. The fact that you're born in this time when we've got antibiotics, when we've got ice cubes and air conditioning, for God's sake. You know, my parents, my dog, for you, for my friends. If you can't find 5 things you're thankful for, then you think harder. And here's the reason why. If you're starting your day in gratitude, you're living in the present. And if you're living in the present, you're not worrying about the shit that's coming down the pipe, because that might not even happen. And you're not worrying about the stuff that's already happened, because there's nothing you can do about it. The next thing I do is I meditate for about 5 minutes. And I talk about, here's a great hack. If you've got Alexa or you've got Siri, just say, hey, listen, give me 5 minutes and just close your eyes and start breathing in and out. For me, there's a passage that I have in the book, which is from the Bhagavad Gita, which is a Sanskrit ancient writing, which is what I use. I memorized it. But you can do something as simple as saying, I'm better today in each and every way, blah, blah, blah. You can make something stupid up. It doesn't matter. What it does is you're trying to silence that bombastic monkey chatter in your head. And one thing I didn't say is the first thing is you want to try and wake up 90 minutes earlier than you normally would. That's critical. Okay. Wake up before anyone else in the house is up. Resist the temptation to go right to your email. The idea is that you're starting your day before the chaotic bombardment of the outside world has started to vie for your attention, right? The first thing, right after, the gratitude is I chug some water. You're asleep for 8 hours, your body's dehydrated. You want to get your synapses firing. We have electricity in our head, it needs water. And I chug a bunch of water. After I do the meditating, I don't do this all the time, but I sometimes do journaling. And by that, I mean, I write for like 3 minutes straight, and you don't have to write anything that even makes sense. And I promise you, if you journal, it's not going to instantly transform you into a 7th grade girl. Okay. I'll write, it's early. I want more coffee. This sucks. I don't want to be writing this. I got a lot to do today. Blah, 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 blah. But what you're doing is you're getting all that crap out of your head, and then you just throw it away. Boom. Now you're done. And now you're clearing your space. The next thing I do is I visualize. I mean, even for instance, knowing that I was going to speak with you tonight, I was like, okay, what can I want to make sure that I'm able to inspire people. I want to make sure that I connect with Johnny. I want to make sure that I'm not only just talking about what I want to talk about, but like I'm a big proponent of the win-win scenario. How can I bring value to you and what you're doing? And so I play through, whether you have a job audition, for instance, if you have a meeting and you're going to a place in town you've never been before, I'll think literally about getting there and just, what it's going to be like when I see the other individual and greeting them and connecting with them, blah, blah, blah. So I do the visualization. And if you don't like to do it that way, go on YouTube and just type in motivational speeches. And there's so many great ones they'll just fire you up, and it puts you in a state. Okay?
Absolutely.
So that's another thing I do. And, if you do, and one last thing is read. Reading is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter if you're wealthy, poor, or incarcerated. You have the ability to read the words of great men and women. You have the ability to travel places that you've never been and maybe couldn't afford to go right now, to hear the thoughts of great thinkers. And if you read just 20 pages a day, and if you can't read 20 pages a day, you're an idiot or you're blind. Okay, so no excuses, right? No excuses in this dojo. But if you read 20 pages a day over the course of a year, you will have filled your mind with so many good, positive things. And if you're like me, and I lived in Los Angeles for years, and we're famous for our traffic, right? You're in your car for a really long time. I would say a couple hundred hours a year, you're in your car, right? Use your car as a mobile library. Tony Robbins says that. I wish that was mine, but he's spot on. You're going to tell me that you can't learn French or Spanish in 200 hours in your car? Are you going to tell me that you can't make it through, a dozen of the classic books that you've never read? I mean, rather than, texting on your phone, which you shouldn't be doing, or listening to crap, put good stuff into your head.
Absolutely.
And yeah, man, you'll look back in a year and go, wow, have I come a far way.
Dude, you're learning Italian, right?
No, I haven't studied Italian for 15 years. I mean, I'm learning Mandarin right now. Actually,
Okay.
when I'm done lesson. I've been studying Mandarin for a couple of years now.
I know the curse words growing up in an Italian household on the East Coast, man. So I got a lot of the curse words down.
Yeah, I actually lived in Italy for a year, and it's like a second home. I was married there. Some of my best friends lived there. I've studied Italian probably for 15 years, and
wow.
Been studying Mandarin for a couple of years, and also studying some Russian.
Incredible, man. I love that you're always like progressive, bro. Like you're just forward thinking, just going at it. And I want to talk a little bit about a couple things that you were mentioning there. Okay. Going back to like the whole scenario with two kids being raised differently. I know about this, and some people will take the good and the bad. And that's where I'm going to tie it into the black belt section. And this will be a little bit of a spoiler. There's two Cobras, but it's all about finding balance. That's what I gauged from that last and amazing chapter. Is that an appropriate assumption of that?
Absolutely. Well, the story is that there's an old snake charmer, and he's in India by the Ganges River, and he's talking to his grandson, and he says, "My grandson, there's a battle that rages inside of me." He said, "There's two cobras, and they're both vying for my attention. And one cobra is the light cobra. He's made of light. He's full of love and caring and compassion and joy. And then there's a dark cobra. And the dark cobra is vindictive and hostile and angry and blah, 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 blah." And the young boy says to his grandfather, he says, which cobra wins? Now the story goes in many circles. He says the one that you feed the most wins. But I like the twist that if you feed them both correctly, then they both win, because you have to have the dark side as part of the light side. And I use this analogy about Star Trek. I'm an unrepentant old school original series Trekkie, and there's this great episode where Captain Kirk comes through the transporter and he's split into two Kirks, and one Kirk is he's loving and caring and empathetic and compassionate. And the other one is all of those things I said about the Dark Cobra. Well, the problem is that the good Kirk begins to lose the power of command. He's indecisive. And the point is that without the Dark Kirk, he's not able to do the things that he needs to do to run a starship. So Mr. Spock says, "Captain Kirk, if you continue to de-evolve," he said, "I'm going to have to relieve you of command." Ultimately, both Kirks go back into the transporter. They're fused together, and Captain Kirk comes out as the fantastic space galloping hero that we know he is. But look, we all have a dark side, and if you starve your dark side, then the dark cobra is going to be lurking around every corner, waiting to get fed, and it's going to come out in ways that are destructive. But if you can learn to feed it and learn to access and utilize the dark cobra, it's going to enhance the light one.
Another great quote in the book is, "Courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing what's right while facing your fears." And I got super psyched because they actually used that quote in Best of the Best Part 2, one of my favorite martial arts movies ever. And it's all about the snake charmer. So I'm like, wait a minute, this actually, the Best of the Best Part 2, which is one of the greatest martial arts films ever, guys. If you've never seen it, please. Philip Ree, Eric Roberts, Chris Penn, just amazing. And the character of Brackus, oh my God, menacing. But I was like, wait a minute. So like, that's not just like some crazy martial arts, because we know how like some of that script is done. Like you got to fact check it sometimes. You're like, well, I don't know if that's really true, but that actually holds up to your book.
A lot of the stories that I relate in this are things that are lessons that I've learned that I'm sharing. So like I said, before you think that I'm sitting in a hut on the mountaintop of Kathmandu, contemplating my navel, these are the lessons that I've learned that have helped me to achieve a lot of what I've achieved. And, it's kind of like Bruce Lee says, and, my teacher, Adam, who you trained with, says this. He goes, it's
Yes,
like a
sir.
buffet. It's like a buffet. You take what you like off the buffet, you try everything, you see what you like, what doesn't, you leave. And it's these are the things that throughout life have resonated with me and have been able to teach me lessons, and I'm passing them on, because that's one of the central themes of Way of the Cobra is that, it's a never ending circle. That, I teach you, you go on, you teach someone else. In teaching someone else, you grow, they do it. And it's the never ending circle of what our dojo is.
That was perfect timing. We were just talking about Adam, and here's our sensei. Welcome to the dojo, Adam. How we doing, brother?
Good, man. How are you doing today?
Hey, buddy. How you doing, pal?
Hey, man. How are you?
I'm good. It's really great to see you.
You too, man.
So speaking about this epic martial arts journey that, you had embarked on, Sean, I want to get your thoughts on it. I've done a similar one. I think you went a little bit crazier than I did with the pipe walk, like however many times you've done it. So
right.
Let's talk about training with Adam, Sean, if you don't mind, brother.
Well, Adam, I was first introduced to Adam by, who's this guy with these unbelievable kicks on TikTok? And we started sort of corresponding on social. And then from there, we started texting. And then from there, we had a phone call. And Adam just said, hey, listen, why don't you come up and train with me sometime? And I looked at my wife and I was like, look, I'm not going to get like a yellow Corvette, and I'm not having like a midlife crisis. But I said, I think I need to go do this. And so I called my buddy, Robert Young, who is the editor of Black Belt Magazine. And I said, I'm going on this crazy adventure. And I said, I think it would make a hell of a story for Black Belt Magazine. And he said, let's do it. So in the current, it's not out right now, but in the next edition of Black Belt Magazine, there's an entire article written about my journey to go see Adam and training with him. And I think it's a terrific article. And, training with Adam was phenomenal. It really, for me, reignited my love for martial arts. And, Adam he's a teacher in the truest sense of the word. He's beyond humble and kind and thoughtful and intelligent. And he's also a deadly stone cold killer, man. It's a thing of beauty to watch him do what he does.
Those power kicks, the way he teaches, I'll give my thoughts in a moment, but I'm going to throw it to Adam. That hybrid style that you've, put together, as a martial artist is like really second to none. I've been around a lot of jujitsu practitioners, mixed martial artists, boxers, taekwondo, Oishin-ryu, Jeet Kune Do, all that kind of stuff. Like, where does that come from? And let me ask you another question to follow that one up, is that also like your patience, because you're so patient with your student and you're very good at getting the results.
Again, I would say, like what we were talking about before, I really like taking individuals on once at a time. That way I can really focus on the person, focus on his needs and, where he is in his whole martial arts walk, basically. I don't really have an answer to where I came up with what I do, but I would say that it's definitely amalgamation of things that I've learned over time and, experience and taking in every type of martial art that I possibly can.
It's wonderful, man. And the thing is, you gave me some credit when I was out there, but the credit goes out to you. The reason why I was able to learn so fast is because you showed me how to do things. And Sean, you probably know about this. Like when you're chilling with Adam, you'll work really hard for a little while, and then you'll sit and you'll hang out and you'll discuss everything that you're doing, but in a fun way, not like a really analytical way, even though we do analyze things, but it's very chill. And then you want to go back because let's face facts, guys. We want to destroy Bob.
Absolutely.
Look at him. He looks at you funny. You want to destroy him.
Absolutely.
I think one of the things I really love about training with Adam is he really created a lot of lessons for me that I kind of didn't get was a lesson till a couple minutes in. Like, the best was this truck full of, chopped wood shows up. And I just sort of intuitively knew. I was like, I'm going to go help him unload the thing. But as I'm doing it, I'm seeing the lesson. I mean, it's like, it's physical, but it's also mental. And walking along the pipe, which you did, is, it's balanced, but you're out in nature and there's a oneness to it. And then at the end, looking at that beautiful vista of the mountains. Yeah. I mean, it really drove home to me kind of the natural beauty of martial arts. And here's the thing, there's not even any comparison between the martial arts that Adam does and what I do, but that doesn't mean that you don't carry the spirit of martial arts with you, and you do what you can do, and you glean the positiveness from martial arts, the humility, the discipline, all of those wonderful things. And you can do that at any age and any level.
Absolutely.
I am so thankful, Sean, for you introducing me to Adam. And we had a couple great interviews, but more importantly, a great friendship, all of us. And when I got out to Sean's place, I already felt like he was a brother from a different mother. So inviting him, his wife, his family, wonderful family, beautiful, setup I had there every morning. I woke up and I'd look outside, and some mornings I felt a little rougher than others for various reasons. But the pipe walk, I'll tell you.
Mornings too.
the pipe walk, that was probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done. I'm 42 years old. I'm in decent shape. I've gotten way better since I've come home from this experience. I've been like training almost every day in multiple combat sports. Thanks to Adam and you guys for setting it all up. But that pipe walk, you did that, Sean, during snow conditions, icy conditions.
Yeah.
That must have been hell.
Well, I'm not really, I don't love the heights. Okay. Like I'm not. So for me, I had a little bit of a sort of a mental thing that I had to get over. And it's not that it's super high off the ground. It's probably like 6, 7 feet maybe, but it's a bit, not even that. It's not that high.
It sucks though for us, brother.
You know what though? What I liked about both of you guys killed it. Both of you guys killed it, man. Like, did way better than I would have thought anybody would have. It's not that easy when you're on top of that thing, and you're trying to keep centered, man, and you're trying to keep that balance. And especially with you, Sean, when we were doing it in the ice and snow, and then traversing down into that dip in that valley, and then coming back up, it's a struggle, man. It's huge.
But you know what I think one of the biggest inspiring factors is when you see mountain lion tracks on the side, and you're like, I don't really want to fall because I don't know what get me. So, but it was a really, really great lesson which I took with me. I'm going to be coming up and training with you again, Adam again, shortly, and then Adam is going to be coming back to my hometown. We're doing a tournament for my teacher, Sensei William Stoner, and Sensei Fumio Demaro is going to be there, and Yuji Okamoto from Karate Kid 2 and Cobra Kai is going to be there. And it's going to give me the chance to not only, introduce Adam to my parents in my hometown, but to a lot of really terrific martial artists, and give him some exposure, which I think he absolutely deserves. And
Thank you.
And Adam, can we share the other thing that you're in was it Arkansas? Have you shared that yet?
Yeah. So it's funny, like not even a month later, I have the American, the Hall of Fame, the Martial Arts Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, what an honor, and so well deserved.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I mean, his athleticism, Adam, your athleticism, your ability to understand things, your mechanics, the way you just work. You got hard work, dedication all day. And
I'm trying. I'm aching.
But you look great, brother. I mean,
like I'm not afraid of the guy that can do 10,000 kicks. I'm afraid of the guy that practices one kick 10,000 times. And I mean, Adam is up there just killing it again. And just when you don't think you can get any better, it's like he elevates it to a new level. It's
all the time, man. Like it's so crazy exciting. And so, Adam, I'm going to throw it back to the pipe walk. And for those listening, how long is the mileage on this thing?
Through and through, I would say that it's definitely about 3 miles. I think from when the time you actually start, when we leave that park area and you get on top of the pipe and you climb up, it's about 3 miles. But it's a lot harder than just a simple 3 miles that you would traverse or walk. It's it's your balance, it's your coordination, and you're having to work on multiple different things. And I thought it would be such a good idea for training, because you're having to use your head, and you're having to use your balance, and your body, and you're having to work out the mechanics and work out the feeling so that you can actually do this thing. And it's very challenging, man. It's funny, I still do it all the time, and I enjoy it every single time I walk to the tip top, where we look over the valley, and it's just gorgeous, man. And every single time I do it, it's worth it.
You actually run it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, now I've been running. I wouldn't say full speed, but a good hustle, a good jog across it. And it's a lot more dry out than it was when you were here or when Sean was here. So it's a lot easier to do. But I'm definitely wearing some shoes with some grippy on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I talk about in the book the importance of meditating, and you don't have to just sort of sit and meditate. Doing something like the pipe walk is in its own right, it's meditative. You know what I mean? Because at least for me, I had to focus so much on doing it that I was able to shut out all the other kind of crap that things that competing for headspace. So
Sure.
if people who read the book don't necessarily feel comfortable meditating right away, it can even be something like just going out and taking a walk by yourself in nature. Sure. And
right.
So.
It's all thought. I said the same thing to Adam when I was doing that thing. I went through a crazy experience, and it was an epiphany that still stands with me to this day. When we first got to one bridge that was like over our heads, and you have to like kind of like do like a ninja crawl. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. And he's like, you can get off if you want to. I'm like, no, I'm not getting off. Fuck that. I'm going. And then we keep going. And then I saw where it declines and then it goes back up. And I'm like, we're going to do this, right? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right. So we do it and I'm feeling good. Every once in a while, when you get to higher altitude, you can feel your heart pump a little bit. You feel
Johnny, that's the thing you didn't say. We're up at about 4,200 feet.
Yeah.
A little bit higher. I think it's more like 4,700, almost 5,000.
Almost 5,000. Yeah.
If you're not used to it, I mean, it definitely plays into it.
That definitely happened with the wine night, and we'll go there in a moment. We had a little too much wine, but so we get to the top, like you said, and I got to like that beautiful like oasis and the trees and everything, and Adam just like goes and sits and like meditates, to the side. He's like, "Come on to the edge, bro." I'm like, I'm holding on to a tree. I'm good. I did all this. This is enough for today for me.
Right.
But it was phenomenal.
It's an amazing experience going up there and training with Adam. I mean, it's such a gift. I can't wait. I can't wait to get back there.
Very much looking forward to it, man.
Hey, Johnny, can we talk about the food? I know Ilona made some amazing meals.
Amazing, dude. And the hospitality, everything, like the families is great. And the setup that they gave us is just like unbelievable, I mean,
got to give her a star. I mean, she is just such a great chef and a wonderful, intelligent, tuned on woman. I love her.
Oh, dude, like very, very, motivation, way. That's what I think about motivation when I think about her. Very motivational. Like she's just very inspiring, and she'll tell you great things about what you're doing good and what you're doing bad. And I can accept that.
She gave great feedback in my book.
Don't you boys worry. She'll always tell you what you're doing bad.
I got one of those too, buddy.
I got one too. And that's what makes me sharp, right, guys? Like, I mean, Sean, today I was trying to send you like a link to the show or something, like a promo thing, and my wife had to do it because I was going to actually ask my stepdaughter to do it. She was at school because I don't barely know what I'm doing with this technology shit.
This book would never have been made without Michelle. Michelle, normally you have to send your manuscript away to be formatted, and it costs a lot of money. And my wife, who's pretty brilliant, said, screw that. She took like 3 days to learn the computer program, and she formatted the book herself. She designed the cover, which I didn't realize how much goes into, the designing of a cover like that.
Sure.
But very, very complicated. She did all of that. She edited the book, and it absolutely, my wife said something really brilliant. She says, let me see if I get this right. Not every great idea is successful, but every successful idea has a great machine behind it, and in order to have a great idea, but for it to manifest, you've got to have a driving force behind it, which brings it from the conceptual stage to the manifestation. And Michelle is an unbelievable machine at helping me take these ideas I have and get them done. And I think probably, I would guess Ilona does some of that for you too. I mean, I think seems like
it's crazy, to be honest with you, man. I'd be completely lost without that woman in my life. She is there making sure that all the other things that really truthfully matter are being taken care of. And again, man, behind every great man, there's an even greater woman. And I truthfully believe that. I truthfully believe that we get that energy and that vitality, and they keep us on our toes. And she's great. What's funny is, for the longest time when I was making my videos, I would do an aerial kick, like a 360 kick, and she'd be like, nope, the landing was bad. And I remember talking about that. And what's so funny is, like, totally attributed to that, when Johnny was here, she challenged me again to be able to do 2 bobs with 1 kick. And so I started doing that, and now I just do that all the time. But what's crazy is she empowers me, and she gives me that ability to kind of push myself and to push myself forward in the places that I'm not really comfortable going into myself.
I was so touched and motivated by Michelle's input in the book that we're going to do a follow-up Way of the Cobra book, and it's be a Way of the Cobra book about relationships. Because we've been married for going on 8 years, we've been together for 10, and the Hollywood community is not the easiest place, the entertainment business, to have a marriage, and we've been successful in it. We were talking about it, and we said, look, like every married couple, you've got your problems, you've got your bench clearing brawls sometimes, yada yada, but we make it work. And I said, it'd be really interesting if we do a book, set up in the Way of the Cobra style, but we talk about what it takes to be a Cobra in a relationship and have a successful relationship from the man's point of view, from the woman's point of view, and then together as the couple. So I think that's going to be.
I think all our wives will chime in graciously.
Oh yeah. Ilona's going to be waiting for that book. It'll be on pre-order.
I love it.
Because the thing is, the same thing with my wife, man. Like, she helps me record as a musician. Like, she'll figure out programs I can't figure out.
Sure.
She'll come in a room within 5 seconds. If I'm doing a show, I'm like, babe, the audio doesn't work. She'll come in, she'll like click, and just like,
and it's done.
Bounce. Like the way we knock down Bob, guys. Like, she'll just like walk out like it's a knockout. Like, it's just like, come on, get it together. Speaking of Bob, yes, Adam, when you did that double kick, that was amazing. And then we tried the Daehan. I suggested to you. The best part about Adam is like, I'm like, can you do the Daehan like double spin kick?
Yeah, it does.
And he did it.
So here's the thing. I know that this next time I come up to see Adam, he's going to push me harder. And so I'm trying to get.
I've got a lot in store for you, Guy. I have a lot more things that we're going to be doing, and then going to definitely get into the projectile weapons, teaching you projectile weapons.
Oh,
I know that's
okay. And then something I was going to ask you, I haven't even asked you this, but I'm teaching that seminar, right? Mm-hmm. In my hometown, and I was wondering if you would accompany me while I'm doing it, just as I'm doing the techniques, and be up there with me. If you'd
absolutely,
like to do I'd love.
I would be honored, man. Thank you. That's
okay. Cool.
Absolutely.
That is so phenomenal. Another thing about Adam, is that he's working on some boxing, and dude, he picked up on what I was showing him, because boxing is like my main practitioner, and he picked up on things like he was hitting left hooks like crazy, dude. His technique is ridiculous. Adam, you still been training that boxing? I saw those videos on Twitter, on Instagram, bro.
Yeah. You know what? It's crazy, man. I just kind of really got back into just wanting to try to do a westernized boxing formation up top. I think really the best collaboration is having those Western punches with those Eastern kicks. And I think that collaboration, you see a lot of the great fighters, old kickboxing fighters like Dennis Alexio and stuff like that. Those guys really, had a handle on that type of thing. And when you watch those guys go to battle in the old days, like in the 80s and stuff, it's amazing and it's brutal. And I think it's something that a lot of people have not really gravitated away from, but kind of just kind of maybe forgot about. It's one of those those little missing links. So I don't know, man. It's just like I really feel comfortable with that formation, and I feel like it's punctual and it's logical, and it gets rid of all of the mess that you don't need.
You download so much like content in terms of like mentally, in your brain whenever you see something. I could tell like you're very observant of things. That's why you're such an excellent teacher and also a great martial artist, is because you really comprehend, like, because I showed you some maneuvers with boxing that you picked up on like way faster than most people would pick up on. And I'm like,
What,
homie's throwing a hook way better than I am. And I've been boxing for like 25
thank
years.
you. Thank you. Really, again, man, I think it's just when you take the time with an individual, again, where I'm coming from in the past, I was in these commercial taekwondo schools growing up and commercial karate schools. You don't really get that time. You don't get that personal time. And like I said, there's only like, in my opinion, like 15% of the students that are actually getting it because they have that like natural athleticism. And that's great. But then you have the rest of these students that aren't really able to take it in because they need that extra help, and they need that focus and they need that ability. Again, when you're teaching 60 kids, it's roundabout and it's just so out there, they're not really learning anything. It's just so over and over again, if that makes sense. And it's just, again, I like taking a person, finding out where they are, and fixing the kinks. And that's really what it is. And like I said last time, martial arts doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be something that you get into and spend thousands and thousands of dollars at bullshito schools. Martial arts can be really easy. And it's not even something that you have to be super flexible to do. It's just understanding the body mechanics, and it's understanding the body, and it's understanding how to move and how to make your muscles and your tendons work in collaboration with that. And once you realize that, and like we were talking about, people separate things too much. It's all one.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's all one. There's too much separation in everything.
Everything's interconnected.
Yes, sir. Sean, I was going to ask you, about this, right? Because like the whole knocking over Bob, it's such like a great achievement when you do it, because Bob is a little tougher than we like to believe he is.
Adam, did you say Bob weighs like 290 pounds, 260 pounds when he's full of water?
I think that Ilona has said that it was 278 pounds full.
That's a pretty big boy. And if you can knock a dude on his ass, you know what? God bless you.
Yeah, and we were using the Bob XL because I have the smaller version of Bob and then the bigger version. And it's crazy, man, when you really understand how heavy it is. Like, you guys were lifting it up with me. It sucks, bro. Like, you kick it down and you're like, damn it, I gotta pick it up now, And so I'm like picking it up like every 5 minutes. So I get a workout when I'm doing my martial arts too.
Of course. The first day I was there, I couldn't get Bob down, and I was pissed. I went to bed upset. I mean, although I was happy, I had a wonderful day, great environment, great family like Adam has over there, great environment, beautiful view, all this type of stuff. But I'm like, I got to fuck Bob up. Like I woke up with a purpose, bro.
Right.
And then Adam gave me this great wisdom. He's like, think about pushing, but using your strike, He's like, you got to push and follow in, because as a boxer and a taekwondo guy, it's like everything is a snap and then done, pull back. It's just like, it's contact, just hit. But
see, what's really interesting is that a lot of martial artists, guys that do the 1-inch punch, especially with Bruce Lee, they're really big sticklers about the pushing. And I understand with a 1-inch punch, you're trying to show that you can manipulate that power coming from your toe through your hip, and you can actually utilize it and make it happen. But when you can actually make the impact in the push, when you can bring that collaboration together, you get this amazing chaotic power from it.
It's insane.
When you can learn to harness it, and when you can understand it, like I said, it's about doing it over and over again. It's all about repetition and trying to really, fill out the kinks. But I mean, it's amazing, man, when you start thinking that way, when you start looking at martial arts that way, when you start looking at things, like I told you, we're not aiming for the object, we're aiming through the object. You're not aiming for Bob's sternum, you're aiming for behind Bob's spine, basically. That's really how people have to think. And again, like we were talking, martial arts is very much a head game as much as it is a physical game. A lot of people think it's just mostly physical, and really, dude, you got to be up there too mentally. You got to know what you're doing, and it's so much more mental than people think. It's again, at least for me, when I'm doing kickboxing or point fighting or anything, I'm always thinking about it. The brain is clicking, it's working, it's moving, and I'm constantly looking for avenues to get in and move around and bob and weave. But again, it just all starts making sense when you stop separating things and you make it one.
Mentally, how bad do you think Bob's Easter was? Because we kicked his ass.
Bob, I'll tell you what, I'm about ready to get a hold of Century and get them to send me my new Bob, because the 3-year warranty didn't even go 6 months. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. Adam, don't you think also it's sometimes when you're not adhering to the traditional stylistic elements of different styles, and you're literally creating when you're throwing punches and kicks, that's when you really become a martial artist, because you're creating, absolutely, taking from different styles and not adhering to one specific pedantic set of.
One of the most important things I think Bruce Lee ever said is martial arts is self-expression. It is literally you expressing yourself. And so what I think is interesting, and you see this with a lot of kung fu lineages and karate lineages, they'll pass it down to somebody and they'll learn it, and it'll almost be the same, but there's always a little nuance, a little change, sure, a little difference, and that changes over time and it evolves, and that's the evolution of martial arts. And again, that's kind of where I stand with things. Is it's like I said, breaking away from that tradition, not like saying, oh, I hate that tradition, let's get rid of it, it's garbage. You can utilize it, but again, let's go to the buffet. Let's go to the buffet. Let's stand in line, and instead of kind of overlooking things and saying, you know what, that doesn't look that good, we won't even know until we try, right. And that's really important in the martial arts. You kind of have to put yourself out there sometimes. You have to learn different things, and even if it seems like it's non-traditional, or, I mean, let's face it, in the streets, martial arts never happens like it does in the schools. When you're fighting for your life versus when you're sparring somebody, it's a totally different game. And so that's why it's so important for me to try to teach people that it needs to be no more of this hard mess. It needs to be easy. It needs to be easy to defend yourself. And we need to use things that are easy. We need to stop looking for these crazy 10 strike moves to put somebody down. You want to hit somebody and put them down right away, and then you want to walk away from the situation.
Mike Tyson style. You want to get that shit over with, bro.
Yeah.
I tell you what, we have something with my boys every Monday. It's called Mixed Martial Arts Monday or Martial Arts Monday. And one of my homies, he's like, yo, I saw some of the videos you posted from California. Let me see that push kick. And he held one of those big Century pads, which is a beautiful pad, and so he holds it, and I'm like, you want me to go 50 or 100? I'm not trying to brag. This is credit to you, Adam.
Thank you.
And he's like, I want 100. I'm like, are you sure? And he's a pretty solid guy. He's got to be like about 190, 200 pounds, solid, no fat on him really. And I'm like, okay. So we're on the patio. I'm like, I don't know if you want to really stand here. Maybe you should go on the grass. Like, no, I'm good. I'm like, all right, bro, at this point, I've given you all the precautionary warnings.
Right.
I'm going to kick you. I almost knocked this guy into his fucking living room.
Yeah.
Because of what you showed me with the hip.
And you learned it quickly and effectively without having to go through all of the mess of everything. Again, this is about basic. It's about fighting basically, again, it's martial science. It's not martial arts.
I love that. Sean, what's your favorite kick that you like to do as a practitioner of martial arts?
After working on the spinning back kick with Adam, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have the range of tools that Adam has. So what I try and do is, be able to use 5 or 6 things that I feel comfortable with, ranging from, a push kick to a round kick, crescent kicks, and I would probably say an axe kick. And then, my kind of other go-to technique that I feel pretty confident is a spinning back fist. Yeah.
Your spinning back fist, your back spinning kick, and your axe kick are excellent. They're top notch. They're textbook. It was kind of like funny. It was like with working with Johnny. He's a boxer, so everything he did was textbook boxing. So it was really interesting. Again, I'm learning from you guys as well, which is great. Like you and I, Sean, we played with the sticks. These are things. Again, it's such it's all one. It's not different. It's not.
Yeah, and that's and it gets back to what I say in the book. I mean, Adam, you were talking about how things never go the way you think they will in the street with martial arts. And I quote Mike Tyson, and I say, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the mouth. Now,
Absolutely.
and I'm not just talking about physically getting punched in the mouth. You know, what I said, John Lennon said, you know, life is what happens while we're busy making plans. Things rarely work out the way that we think they will. And, you know, the Navy SEALs say something to the effect of no plan withstands contact with the enemy in perfection. You know, once, you know, it's going to change. So you have to have that adaptability, which is what you're talking about, taking from different styles, and be flexible and understand that, you know, life is going to throw you curveballs.
And it's such a pet peeve of mine to see people teaching people techniques that aren't going to work. They're never going to develop as martial artists. They're never going to learn something that's actually going to teach them real self-defense. And that's a problem, and that's an issue. And I think that Johnny and I talked about this and we touched down on it. You're basically paying for your belts, you know, and it's really sad. You're not learning. I see people nowadays that are like 10th dance, and it's insane.
Yes, sir. I've had situations where my stepdaughter, who's 12, and I'm training her right now, and she's doing phenomenal, and she will knock down Bob. Trust me, she will knock down Bob. She's gonna get him. But
guys, I gotta get my plug for 1 second.
No, you got it, brother. You got it. But so here's what's up: is that we went to many martial arts academies, and I just didn't like what they were showing her. And I'm not trying to be that guy like, hey, I know everything. I've done Taekwondo and Oishin-Ryu and Muay Thai, but it's just you know good shit when you see good shit.
But you know what you're talking about. And that's the thing is, I think anybody can kind of walk into these places, whether you have experience in any fighting style, and kind of look at things for what they are. Again, I'm very cerebral when it comes to looking at things in life, because I need to have cold hard facts. And especially in the martial arts, like if you can't cold hard facts show me that this is going to work, I don't want to know it. There was too many times in my martial arts walk where I learned things that may have looked good, but they're not going to work. And that's just the problem today is, again, it's to no offense to any other martial arts teacher, but I mean, again, I see it way too much, 70% of the time, probably, especially in the States, where these kids that are coming in and these adults, they're coming in and they're learning these moves, and then they get their black belt, and they get their black belt in like 3 years. It's crazy. It took me like probably almost literally 8 years just to obtain my first
Taekwondo, same thing for me.
And that's the thing is, it was a lot harder to obtain levels and degrees back then, because I think that they made you work a lot harder for it. And that's really what it's about. You can't just obtain something great without working hard for it.
That's why you're such a great instructor, is because you understand that philosophy. And what I love about your instruction, and people, please hit Adam up. You know, he's open-minded. I don't want to speak for you, Adam, but I mean, you know, to train a lot of people, and, you know, if you come correct at Adam, he's going to give you everything he's got and then some. Sure. But what you do is, when we trained, what I loved is we would do, like, again, hard for a little while, and then we'd sit down and analyze things, and we would talk about how we could both improve ourselves, you know, mentally and physically.
It's important for the brain, I think, especially in the martial arts, for a human brain to take in the physical part, to move with it, and then to sit down and talk about it.
Yes, sir.
I think we talked about this. Bruce Lee in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do, he has all these like little sketches and all these little drawings. And when he was hurt for a huge amount of time, and he was on his back, and you know what he was doing? He was sketching, and he was writing, and he was thinking about it. And what's so funny is, people don't realize how important the martial arts is up here, because while he was down and while he was out and he wasn't able to move, he was literally creating Jeet Kune Do. He was creating this amazing thing that nobody had ever seen. I mean, you can go to the old videos, the Ed Parker, what was the opening of the karate opening, the Ed Parker opening, and the guy goes in there and he flabbergasts people with what he can do, because he sat there and he literally thought about every single movement, every single motion, every part of the kinetic body. And that really matters. If I show you to do something physically, then I'm just showing you one part of it. You know,
I was going to say, Adam, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was working with somebody today in a coaching I was getting coached by somebody, basically, who also happens to be a martial artist. He said something really interesting. He said there are 3 ways that people learn. And, you know, the first way is when you're given something and it's like, give a man a fish and he's fed for the day. And the second way is teach a man to fish and he'll know how to fish. But he said, that's not entirely true. He said, the way to do it is to take him down to the lake with a fishing rod and walk him through it and have his body kinetically move with the casting and with everything. And that's what you're talking about, I think.
This is really why I also kind of stay away from Zoom classes and stuff like that, because you can watch me do stuff all day long and I can show you these amazing things and I can walk you through every single little movement. But if you're not there physically with me taking it in, it's not going to work for you like it would if you were here.
Absolutely.
And so that's why it's crazy. I see a lot of guys, the pandemic hurt a lot of us as martial arts teachers because we were no longer able to go in and actually work with our students versus we had to do on Zoom. And there were so many people during this pandemic that lost out on actual technique and focus and desire. And let's face it, everybody, we all became couch potatoes and fat, and we all sat there and did nothing. And it was really sad because, again, martial arts is kind of dead without that ability to work with somebody hands-on.
I absolutely agree. And then, it just brings me back to Sean's book, Way of the Cobra. One of my favorite sections is the inner critic, and that's when you have to realize to make adjustments and stuff like that we're talking about, and also find your inner child. So again, guys, I don't want to spoil much of the book, but the book is phenomenal, cover to cover.
I can't wait, man.
Almost impossible to put down, Adam. Almost impossible to put down.
Let's give people where they can get it. Right now, they can get it at wayofthecobra.com. And everybody who orders the book now through the end of May is entered into winning this really incredible piece of fan art that was created by a guy named Mark over at Be Like Water. And it's a beautiful 40-inch by 30-inch on canvas. Really cool. And
Sean, whoever wins that painting, I'm gonna like dress up like a ninja and break into their house.
Oh, guys, you don't want Adam to break into your house as a ninja.
No. It's like that painting is so badass, man. It is literally
amazing.
Like it just oh man, it's breathtaking, man. It's so cool.
Cool. It really
that is remarkable. Adam, we had one of the craziest tables one night. I don't know if we could say this on air. We probably could. I can say a lot of things, but remember that table we put out there with all those weapons one night? Like, if we rolled up on his house, Sean, this thing was the craziest thing. Like, there was everything in the world imaginable to take down somebody.
All of them, believe me.
Yeah. Sean
I left
looked at him.
Adam gave me 2 weapons when I left. So.
Yeah. I sent him home. Bladed. So
yes, my pair of nunchucks and my beautiful knife. Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
Are you good with the nunchucks, Sean? Because I hit myself in the nuts. I was a mess.
He's really good. Not to speak for you, Sean, but I was very impressed, bro. Like when you came here, you definitely have a very saucy nunchaku style, man. It's really just, it's very traditional looking and it's fast and it's very capable, man.
My goal is generally not to hit myself in the head. So I think anytime I pick them up.
Always.
Yeah. I was very impressed. Like I told my wife when I went out there to visit Adam for the martial arts journey, and we're going to do it again. Hopefully we could all do it together, which would be just absolutely phenomenal. We'll push each other all to the limits. It's going to be crazy. Yep. But I told my wife, I'm like, I might come home with a cast on, some bruises. The only thing I got was a little bit of inflammation, some swelling, a little bit of soreness in the hip because Adam showed me how to like twerk the hip a little bit better. And the thing about that is I've been using it to my boxing implements, like I've been putting that in my boxing game. And I showed it to some people that I'm training with, and they're like, holy shit, this actually is excellent. And I always knew about pivots, but like there's a different type of pivot when you push through the target, like Adam was talking about, like Bruce Lee.
Remember that the power starts in the toe, works up your leg into your hip, and from your hip you move. And what really generates the most power is that you're using it and utilizing the very toe. And I think a lot of people, I see it in kickboxing and in UFC and MMA today, they're not utilizing that toe energy. When you really utilize that toe energy, you come up with these crazy haymakers. I mean, they're so
correct.
crazy that I don't even know that I could do them. And it's just, again, this is very much understanding the mechanics and the mathematics of the body, understanding that it's really about the way you're moving. It's really about the way your placement is. And it's so important. Again, with boxers, like I said, boxers have some of the most amazing footwork I've ever seen. I'm envious of boxers, the way that they move their feet as opposed to martial artists. It's another reason why I'm generally interested in boxing, because I want to add that to my game with my feet, because you guys, the way that you're moving, it's insane. And the pitter patter of the feet as you're doing, your successions, it's insane. It's phenomenal.
You're absolutely correct. You know why it's different in boxing than it is in MMA or karate? They got shoes on. We got shoes on.
Yeah.
Yep. So you have a better point of balance. Like a lot of people, when they do mixed martial arts, they push off the big toe, but they don't get like the whole foot, for the balance. When you wear a sneaker or boxing shoes, wrestling shoes, whatever the preference is, you get a little bit more, sustainable grounding behind you. Like you could actually plant your feet and then turn.
And shout out to Atomics and Adidas, right, Sean? I think it's, those shoes are amazing. Those Taekwondo shoes, I absolutely recommend them, especially if you're kind of working outside or even on a mat. They're insanely better for your feet. As you guys see, I'm working on concrete with my bare feet. So it's like it's not something that always suits me. And it's like yesterday I fell down and came down on this like little piece of concrete, and my heels just bruised from coming down after an aerial kick. And it's again, they're lifesavers. They're game changers.
So after the pipe walk, Sean, I want to get your experience about this. I had to blow off some steam. So I think me and Adam crushed about 3 bottles of wine. I thought it was 1, but it ended up being 3. The next day I woke up and I just texted him. I said, "Yo, it might take me a little while to put myself together."
I can't remember if we worked out the next day or not. If we took a person, no, I think we worked out. I don't think we took.
I think we did, but I think I was just. We had a lot of wine. I don't remember how much we had, but it was pretty hilarious. We were watching that movie, the Fist and Footway.
The Fist and Footway.
Oh yes, that's excellent.
Julio.
Yeah, man, it was fun, and that's the thing about it. We really mixed a lot of work and lessons with a lot of fun, a lot of bonding, and again, that's the thing I really like about martial arts is it's a really unifying and inclusive pursuit. And
it's an absolute brotherhood, man.
Brotherhood, sisterhood, whatever. And it just, when you meet somebody who's a martial artist, it's not about, are you better than me in my bed? It's about, wow, we both love to do this thing and we might do it differently. But the essence of, I think, being a martial artist are qualities like, humility and respect and all those sort of things that if you're learning whatever martial art you're learning the right way, you're gonna digest those good positive qualities, and I think that's what makes good human beings.
Sure, that's what's up. Sure. That's what the whole martial arts
and that brotherhood. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, brother. Take it.
I was just gonna say that brotherhood, we bring out the best in each other, and that's really what this walk is about. It's having somebody to help you bring out the best in yourself.
Absolutely. 100%. And you want to see people do better, there's times as a boxer, I had to spar people and we had to go at it. It was kind of tough. And, sometimes I get the better of it. Sometimes I get the worst of it, but you want to see them do good because it's an appreciation. It's not like, Sean was saying it great, and you as well, Adam, is like, you want to see everyone excel. You don't want to see anyone get hurt. You want to see everyone get better, and you want to learn off other people. Like there's so much you could learn. If you go into anything with an ego and think you have it all figured out, in my opinion, you're destroyed. Like
you're done.
You're done.
You're done. And let's face it. There's a lot of fighters out there today, and I won't name them by names, but they go out there and they make it for a while with that cocky, whole I'm going to be the best type of attitude. But let's face it, it gets to everybody eventually. And I think that it's really important to keep a mind frame that you can absolutely be beat. You can absolutely not be the best, but that's not really what it's about. It's about the journey of becoming the best you can be personally.
100%.
My acting teacher used to say, I can teach anybody except someone who is unteachable. And that seems like a kind of, I don't know, it seems like it's both obvious and vague too. But what he meant was like, if you're going to come to my class and you're going to tell me why what I'm teaching you is incorrect, or challenge me at every level, not because you're doing critical thinking, but because you're simply trying to be contrarian, you're not teachable. And so, one thing that I did learn in martial arts, and I know Adam recognized this, is, I was going up there to learn from the guy. I wasn't going up there to show him what I could do or question what he could do. And it's that way in life with everything. If you're trying to learn something, you must be the student and you must accept what is being taught to you rather than trying to teach the teacher.
And you know what? I'm very happy with the lifestyle in the belief that I would like to always be the servant, and I would always like to be the one beneath the feet, because I think that in the end, that's what kept me going and to date to where I am. So
it's all about the journey and the challenge, man. And Way of the Cobra, Sean's book, absolutely incredible. I love that how you put poetry in there at the end. I thought that was a nice touch. That was really, really cool. When I read the book, there was a lot of things that reminded me of, poetry and also music, especially when you go to the inner child one. Tool recently released a record, Fear Inoculum, which is one of my favorite albums they've ever put out, where they have a lot of like, Buddhism type mentality, Hinduism, stuff like of that nature. And I like that you tie into that. So if there's any connection to music while you author a book, is there anything that you put on in the background, like jazz or prog rock, or what do you do when you write?
I don't usually listen to a lot of music when I'm writing, but I think music has a big influence on all of our lives. And, I remember that there's one part of the book where I'm talking about, defining your success. And I say that if the only metrics of success were financial gain and material possession, then a phenomenal amount of the population would be deemed unsuccessful. And while I was writing that line from The Verve, from Bittersweet Symphony, crept in my head, we're a slave to money, then you die. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. Maybe I can wind that in there. And so there are moments in the book where I try to wind some things of music that I like into the book. Whatever I can do to kind of reach the reader, I'm trying to do. So for me, I'll steal and borrow from anybody if I think that it's going to help get the message across.
That's why I brought up that point, as a huge music fan as I am. And, I butcher lyrics. Believe me, I can't even sing I don't sing at all. I play drums mostly, but my thing is that my favorite songs of all time, I can't sing. My wife, for whatever reason, she can remember, like, she heard a song one time and then she'll like have it down, my stepdaughter. And I feel like so stupid because like, I can't even sing my own favorite songs that, from like Toto and Rush and all these bands I like, Led Zeppelin.
It's like those kids that are like 12 years old that pick up the guitars and shred. It's like just shred like so hard. They've been like working for like 4 years. I've been doing this for like 2 decades and I can't play like that, man. So it's insane, man. It's the evolution of music. Same thing with martial arts. It's the evolution. It's that constant evolution that's making people better.
Yes, sir. I almost had to pull my stepdaughter out of school the other day to figure out TikTok because I needed to do a TikTok for something. And I'm like, I can't get this shit. Like, because I could do like things like this and it works out, knock on wood, good for the most part. But it's like when I'm trying to find like, how to download an app and I got a recent phone and I think I kind of know what I'm doing. But when I try to do it, I realize I don't know anything about what I'm trying to do.
Sean and I couldn't even send like emails back and forth, man. So you're not alone. We're all men and we all struggle.
It's the worst thing in the world.
It's a process.
Yeah,
it is. And then that's why I always like tap out and call on the wife, honey, please help me. And she'll probably come in the room right now when she hears that. She's like, fuck, the show might be like busting up on them or something. But you guys are absolutely incredible. And Sean, like I was saying, the music is a big factor. Think about when people fight. They come out like WWE, mixed martial arts, UFC, boxing. The song pops off.
Yeah.
Yeah. incredible ability to, to motivate and to calm and inspire.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So
I've been listening to Bach and Beethoven, man. Honestly, it sounds crazy, but when I work out, it's awesome. It's amazing.
Very fluid. No, that's not crazy. It's fluid.
That music also has a mathematical component to it. Which
yes,
is
sir.
Too. Yeah.
It's very fluid, has mathematical components, and whatever makes you relax. So I'm going to ask you guys this. If we were all to walk into a cage, a boxing ring, wherever, what theme song, I'm going to start with you, Adam. What song would you start? What would you come out with?
That's such a hard question for me, man. Like, I'm a huge classic rock fan, and a huge metal fan, like I've told you. So, gosh, man, I honestly couldn't come up with one. There's so many good songs out there that I like that would be so attributed to like me walking out into the octagon. So I don't know. I guess it would just definitely be a mood thing. But something definitely uplifting, charging, powerful, something that's really going to shake the heavens and make people live.
Does it depend on the discipline? Like if it's WWE or if it's mixed martial arts or boxing, does that matter?
I don't know, man. I mean, honestly, for me, it's kind of like, again, man, I kind of hear music in my head.
Right.
So it's kind of like how I zone out and kind of just do my thing. But there's always some kind of song going on in the back of my head or something amazing, that I've been listening to. And again, I like anything from like 80s synth wave to like metal, like I told you. So it's crazy. There's this huge collaboration. So I could wake up one morning and be like, oh, hey, it's a Tears for Fears day or, whatever. It's who knows, man.
Hey, I'm all over the place too, man. I love everything from country to jazz to hip hop to metal and, all that great stuff that goes along with music. And that's what it's all about. What about you, Sean? If you were going to get into any kind of, scuffle, what would you put on to get in there?
I kind of like that Roy Jones Jr. song, Can't Be Touched.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of my workout songs. So I kind of like that.
And it's stimulating.
That's a good one.
Uplifting. And you got to have something that's really going to give you that supercharge that you need. I think a lot of those guys, they're just, before the song even comes on, they're just like, going 100 miles an hour. So it's just crazy.
When he came out with the Can't Be Touched, I was fired up. You all must have forgot all that kind of stuff. And let me tell you something about Roy Jones, one of the nicest guys you could ever meet in boxing. I had the opportunity to meet him a couple times, and I was working an event as a ringside reporter, not a commentator, for HBO's card with Zab Judah and Lucas Mathesy, and it was a great time. And Roy Jones comes out of the area where we were all eating and stuff like that. And he was like, hey, what's up, brother? I'm like, yo, Roy Jones, man. And I usually don't approach people like that. Like I'm very kind of like, if they talk to me, I'll talk to them. And he just came out and he was like, hey, what's going on, man? You want to come sit here? Because he would always go to the early fights, the preliminaries very early and sit and watch and analyze everything. Roy loves boxing. I had the opportunity to sit with him, man, and hang out with him. And just what a great guy. I had the opportunity to meet him a couple times. So that's a great, I don't think I could beat Sean on this one with the music, but I got Pat Benatar, Invincible.
Oh, I thought you were going to go hit me with your best shot.
Classic. You know what? That's
you might have guessed.
That's so crazy, man. You know what? It would suit you. It would suit you. And again, like, that's the thing. Music is so empowering, man. And it can like Sean said, it can literally like be a game changer for a lot of people. So it's like when we were working out, having a good, music background is really important. So
absolutely.
Oh, we went hard, Sean. I know you went hard over there. I know Adam and you guys, and it was very intimidating when I went out there, but I tried to keep as cool as I could. But what I took away, I want to talk post-mortem about the workout with Adam, is that I have become way stronger. My breathing is way better. My cardio, it makes no sense like how much stronger I've become. Not trying to boast. I'm just speaking honestly.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Sean, what was your experience post-mortem, the exercise and the routine with Adam?
I think the biggest thing for me was that it really reignited my desire to, get really back into my training and remind me of just how much I love martial arts and how beautiful it is. And all the wonderful things that martial arts has brought to my life. And maybe I had sort of forgotten for a little while. And it's interesting how working out with Adam kind of preceded that final push to getting my book done. It probably either consciously or subconsciously really gave me the drive to kind of cross the finish line.
That's what Adam does, man. Like, I came home a different person. I even told my wife right away, like, we're even going to have sex better right now. Like, I got so much energy. Like, I even told Adam that. I'm like, everything was just different. I had like a superior epiphany, is that whether it was a pipe walk, and then we did another trail walk, and, like, just getting the challenges in my life that at 42 years old that I had doubts about, to get through those challenges was amazing, and to learn new techniques and then come home and then continue.
Johnny, when are you 54?
I'm sorry, brother.
When are you 54?
No shit. How do you okay, that's a great question. I was gonna wrap, but I don't want to wrap just yet. I want to ask this. 54. First of all, you look great. Second of all, to do the things you do, again, you went to the pipe walk 4 times, snowy conditions, icy. Where do you get the energy?
I drink the blood of virgins, and I find that by doing
yes.
Is that what it is?
I think it comes down to, again, what I talk about in the book, having a why. And, one of my whys is inspiring people. And I see that same thing in Adam, how he loves inspiring people. And that energy was contagious. And it just made me want to work hard and do my best. And, and also, as far as outside of martial arts, acting and writing and the other things that I do, I love it. I mean, it's such a huge part of who I am that for me, it just doesn't seem like work.
Yeah, that's the best part, when you're having fun. Yep. Yeah. When you're having fun, you ain't working, and there is actually a segment where you discuss that, even though if you're having fun and you love what you do for a living, sometimes you got to work, and sometimes you got to like kind of get away from it. But speaking about the book, again, I mean, this thing cover to cover is impossible to put down. The only reason why I would put it down sometimes is there's 2 reasons. I would get motivated to go like work out and kick some ass. Or B, I just want the process because what I love is development. It is like a martial art read, whereas it's not strictly about martial arts, but it's a discipline. Right. And so every chapter, the white belt, everything, the yellow belt, all the different belts you have as chapters, guys, if you will, is that I want the process and just stop and digest all the information, because I read a lot of books, and the thing is, this one was a really engaging read, not because, Sean, you're my boy and all that kind of stuff, is that I was just so engaged right away, by the honesty of it. So again, I want to let everyone know, where can they purchase the book? How can they get the book? And I know you got autographed copies and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, you get the book at weighthecobra.com, and then probably in about 7 weeks, it'll be on Amazon as a book, as an audio book, or as a digital book. But I wanted to wait a little while before I put it on Amazon, because once you put it on Amazon, it starts to go crazy, and you're dealing with so many people getting it. And at this point, I wanted all the people who wanted it. I wanted to interact with them a little bit. I wanted to hear what they thought. I wanted to sign it for them if they wanted it signed. Kind of just sort of a soft opening. And then we're gonna go big in about 7 weeks.
That's smart, and I love the way you use phrasing in the book too. It's a very easy read, but it's also a very intelligent read. Whereas you explain things very thoroughly, and that's what I really love. It's an easy read. Like the way you explain things in the format. Again, going back to what we talked about earlier, the structure is excellent. That you have these great components where you take little mental quizzes, or you can actually write things down, which I did. And I told everyone, grab one of these. because you're going to want to highlight a lot of stuff in here. Like there's things where I was like, oh, dude, the quotes, Adam, are insane.
I want to leave the people that are watching this with something, because I know we're talking about a lot of sort of abstract stuff in the book, and I want to give them some sort of nuts and bolts. A lot of times kids will say to me, what can I do to be successful? Maybe they're kids that are, they're getting ready to matriculate back into school, and they're nervous about that, or maybe they're starting their first real job out in the world. And I said, there's 4 things that if you do, even if you're not the most talented person in the room, you got about a 95% chance of having a successful life. It might not be the successful life that you want, but as a human being, you'll be successful. And the first one we all learned in kindergarten. It's the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Sure. Treat people with kindness. The second one is act with integrity. Say what you mean, do what you say, be dependable, and show up. Yeah. The third one is to display empathy towards people. You never know what private wars someone else is fighting in silence. Right. You see somebody waiting at the bus stop alone. You see an old person in line at the pharmacy, and you don't know if they don't have enough money and they're deciding if they're going to get food or they're going to get their loved one dying of cancer medicine. You don't know if that woman that you're seeing, with the kid that's being loud is being abused, or someone struggling with addiction. So everybody's fighting something. We all do. That's the human condition. Just treat each other with a little more civility. Our culture has become so vitriolic and divisive that people are no longer able to say, you know what, I see your point of view, I don't agree with it. They have to eviscerate you as a human being. And I just think that's wrong.
It's all about respect.
Yeah. And the last and the fourth thing, if you do this, it's critical. You got to grind. You got to get out of bed. You got to get out of bed with passion. You got to, whatever your passion is, whatever your goal is, each and every day, you got to be working to make yourself better, pursuing your goals, and in doing that, seeing how you can help other people to make their lives better too. If you can do those 4 things, I promise you, you may not become the next heavyweight champion of the world, or a Major League Baseball player, or even a brilliant brain surgeon, but as a human being, you will be successful, and that's being a Cobra.
See, this is where I'm getting fired up. I'm going to hit the gym after this.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm going to go get some, bro. I was going to take the day off because I blew out my shoulder a little bit, but Adam knows there ain't no days off.
No.
There's just rest periods.
Even today, I went at it pretty hard. And again, man, I can't seem to put it down for too long. Like I said, I got to walk away from it for a day or two if I have to kind of think things over and manipulate things. But again, it's very much a part of my life. One of the biggest parts of my life is martial arts, and it really is the reason why I am where I am today. So
there's a great quote from, and absolutely, martial arts is a great discipline, and it's a metaphor for life in so many different ways. Sean, going back to your book, when you talked about bullying and bullying yourself and all that kind of stuff, and people just being, bullies, and of course, being a practitioner of, not wanting to bully people, which, I mean, people know you as karate's bad boy, but like you're one of the karate's nicest guys on the planet next to Adam, that I know. But I like when you went through a segment in the book when you said to your people with, self-reflection about when they bully themselves, when they internally bully themselves. And I love the fact that you made, I'm paraphrasing on this one, is that you made a similar line to this, is that where you were like, would you want anyone to talk to yourself like that, the way you're talking to yourself? What would you do? You would control that. Right? You would go rebel. Like if someone came up to you and said, hey, you shitbag, Johnny, like you suck and your family sucks, like, well, then you're going to kick someone's ass. Like in this case, I like the way the scenario you broke that down. Where did that concept come from, if you don't mind me asking? Because I want to finish with that.
I think we're really careful with the words and thoughts that we use. And by that, I mean, how many times have you ever misplaced your keys and you're late and you're like, oh, come on, you're such an asshole. Can you just keep your keys? And then how many times you've done something really well and you go, attaboy, Johnny. and the difference of how your physiology literally changes when you talk to yourself as a cheerleader instead of a heckler is profound. And it's you need to be kinder with yourself, myself, yourself. You know, be careful with the words that you use in how you talk to yourself and refer to yourself. Even something as benign as I'm such an idiot, you know, and we all do it, but when you start becoming aware of it, you do less of it, and it becomes less of that repetitive inner critic tape that plays in your head at exactly the times when you need to feel your most confident.
And Sean, you know, I think that you mentioned this. We absolutely create our own realities.
Yes.
Simply speaking a word can literally create a reality for somebody, and how powerful speaking to somebody or speaking to yourself can be, so much to the point that great people that have invented great things or done great things, they give up. And so it's really important that, you know, if nobody's going to be there for Adam, who's going to be there for Adam? Nobody's going to be there for Sean.
You got to be there for yourself.
You have to be there for yourself.
Yeah, because you're worth it, you know? I mean, it's like everybody has intrinsic value. I believe, honestly, that everybody has some sort of a gift. And, you know, part of the whole essence of Way of the Cobra is living your most authentic life, tapping into whatever that special quality that, you know, the universe, the divine gave you, and celebrating it.
Yeah,
absolutely, man. The universe has a plan, and it's up to you to figure it out. That's how I feel, you know, when you roll with the punches, you know, you take the good with the bad and vice versa. And the main thing is to be positive and always be, you know, forward progressive. I mean, come on, let's face facts. The obvious is there. Times are tough. Times have always been tough, but they're tougher than ever. But it doesn't mean that you cannot live the best life you can while you're living this life. You know, who knows if there's an aftermath or an afterlife or whatever it is, whatever people believe in. But in my opinion, I mean, go full throttle, right? I mean, that's pretty much what I love about the book, dude. It's very motivational. Like, it's super masterpiece of motivation, bro. Like,
and there's no place for I can't, you know, there's no place. That's how Sean is as a person. There's no place for I can't do it. There's no place for I'm not able to do this. There's
fear does not exist in this dojo.
Exactly.
You know, I think the only person that we really have to compete against is ourselves. I mean, you know, if you're constantly improving as a human being, and constantly improving doesn't mean that you don't have bad days and you don't have setbacks, but if you're continuing on up to the top of the mountain, you're going to have a good life. I think it might not always be an easy. It might not be an easy life, and you know, I think as Americans, especially, to a lesser degree, Westerners, but we somehow adopted this philosophy that life is always supposed to be comfortable and easy, and that's a fallacy, right? And
we're
totally, especially the younger generation. You know, they all think that, you know, they should be starring in their own reality series, and it's just, that's not how life is. That breeds a sense of entitlement, but more than that, it causes disillusionment and anger when you don't think you're getting what you want and you deserve. So ultimately, all you can do is just keep trying your best to be the best person you can be. Outside circumstances that are beyond your control are going to happen, and you're going to have moments of discomfort, moments when you're in difficulty, but you can still be a happy person in discomfort sometimes.
Yeah, duress is like one of the best lessons. Like, when you go through duress, it makes character. Hopefully you get out of it unscathed and healthy, you know, in one piece and stuff like that. Like, look at what Rocky Balboa says in the movie Rocky Balboa, you know, he goes, "This is how winning's done. You fight through it." You know, it's like, there's a challenge every day. I love challenges. Sometimes they're harder than others. Sometimes there's very good days and bad days, but it's how you wake up. You know, it's how you want to put your mind out there. And I think the older I get, the more patient I get, you know, and more responsible I get. Because when I was younger, bro, I was like fired up. There's a reason why you get in combat sports, guys. Let's face facts. Like, you're not the happiest guy alive. When you go in there and fight.
it reminds me of what Bruce Lee said, to the effect that, gosh, what did he say again? He said that the best way to get rid of a disease is to keep it company. And I think that that's a really interesting topic. And I think that when you apply that to everything, not just the sickness or the disease, but the bad thing that a person's going through in their life, you keep it company. You act as if it's not there. That's the best way really to get rid of those things in their life, is to literally keep that thing company, to act as if it's not something disabling you. You know what I'm saying?
It's facing your fears. It's facing your fears and crushing them and controlling them.
Yeah.
And that's what in Sean's book, I mean, he discusses that. That's honestly like one of my favorite segments, bro, when you talk about that, because everyone has fear. Like, you know, me as a podcaster or a musician, or even when I boxed, I mean, Christ, like to go in a ring and know I'm going to get hit, like it's inevitable. It's inevitable. Like you got to be fearful of that, but that fear could keep you sharp. It could give you fire.
Fear is good.
Oh,
Fear is good, man.
If you use it as a vehicle to maintain.
And it keeps you on your toes. It's like the wife. Keeps you sharp, keeps you on your toes.
That's right.
You know, in the beginning of the book, I sort of have that test where do you need this book? And I say, do you feel like a fraud because your dad said, you'll never be good enough? I said, guess what? We all feel like frauds at some point or another. Do you feel like you're never going to be loved because mommy, everyone goes through that shit. And the interesting phenomenon of the human condition, as I've seen, is that we all think that our experiences are so unique. And in reality, most people have experienced the majority of the same feelings of fear and insecurity. And if they would only share them and cop to them and talk them through, it would diffuse a lot of it and would allow them to work through them, instead of, it being we're only as sick as our secrets type thing. I mean, it's that's my thing about feeling like a fraud. I mean, can I tell you how many times throughout my career, even when I had moments of extreme success, I was like, do I really know what I'm doing? I mean, am I really a good actor? Do I deserve this? Am I a fraud? Everybody feels like that. It's normal. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I've done it numerous times with boxing, with pods, with, especially with music. Excuse me. Like, I had the opportunity to work with some great musicians over the years. And, I'm like, do I really belong here? Like, do I deserve this? And that fear and that, willingness, it becomes like almost like a desire. Like it turns into like some kind of fire, if you will, right? So you're like, you get amped. You're like, you know what? I do belong here. I want to be here. And you have one moment, like I'm going to sound like Eminem right now. You got one moment over here, to come out and do your thing. So are you going to fail or are you going to succeed? That's up to the person. And martial arts, going back to that, is a bookend to this whole big, awesome conversation we had, is that will give you discipline as a fighter to fight.
Sure.
Like you got no choice. Now you have to go,
But I think
that's what it is.
I think it'll also give you discipline as a human being, because I think in martial arts, a lot of times, you're struggling to get a concept, you're struggling to do something physical, and then one day you get a little better, and then it starts to come together, and you learn all these lessons. You learn perseverance, you learn working through moments of doubt and things like that, and that's what makes a winner.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite strike with your hands, Sean? Without kicks, just straight up hands. What's your favorite punch to throw?
I mean, if you're talking about a self-defense situation, truthfully, going back to what Adam said about, get in and get out. Honestly, it's probably like a spear hand to the throat.
Yeah.
If you're fighting, no, but I mean, I'm serious. If you're fighting a bigger guy and it's a combat situation, I mean, I'm not going to try and take some guy with a body shot. I'm gonna look to strike him in the throat, hit his ears and disorient him, and then come in with something.
Vital organs, of course. What about you, Adam? What's your favorite?
The most vulnerable area on the person possible, and you go for that area, you go for that strike. And that's what enables people to walk away from these situations. You don't, again, this is a street situation. You don't know what you're walking into. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what this other guy's capable of. So you have to use the best and most efficient way to put this guy down. And I agree with Sean completely. I think that that's an amazing technique to use because it's efficient and it'll definitely put you down no matter what size you are.
That or maybe elbows, maybe close quarter elbows, I would say. One last thing, and I sorry, I keep harkening back to the book, but we are talking about it. So there's a chapter in the book where I say a Cobra is sensitive. And I say, we're not talking about being attuned to other people's feelings, although that's important. I talk about situational awareness. And I talk about not only being able to identify people that are, sociopaths and narcissists and even psychopaths. And people think of psychopaths as Hannibal Lecter, but psychopaths exist in a lot of really powerful positions. They tend to be CEOs, and they tend to be, you see a lot of them in say like trauma surgeons, because the ability to cut off emotionally can serve you. But where I was going with this is part of this chapter is situational awareness of when you go into a bar, you go into a restaurant. What are you looking for? What do you, if you have an altercation, what are you looking for? You're looking at, is the guy have a weapon on him? That's the first thing. I'm looking at his ankle. Does he have a gun? Does he have something in his belt? Blah, 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 blah. What can I do to extricate myself from the situation? What are the, and then I quote James Mattis, and General James Mattis said, treat everyone with respect, but always have a plan to kill them. And I said, now General Mattis is a soldier. And I said, we're going to tone it down a notch. But I said, always have a plan to defend yourself with everybody. And having that sort of heightened situational awareness is something that can help you get out of a lot of situations. And
you got to be aware of your surroundings. I mean, I do it everywhere I go, in particular when I'm with my wife and also my wife and my stepdaughter. And I always got to look over my shoulders, not because of any other reason other than the fact that the world is crazy and people are doing some weird shit now more than ever. And it's just good to know your environment. Like I look around, I make sure that the person sitting next to me at the bar or restaurant isn't carrying some crazy shit or looking weird, or, it's just like, you got to
always look for the toughest guy in the room, man. You always look for the toughest guy in the room. You always look for everything you can. You see everything you can, because that's really what you want to go for first, in my opinions.
And it goes to everything from, when you're waiting to board a plane, I'm looking at who might have had too much to drink, who's being obstreperous, who's fighting with their wife, who could potentially be a threat. And then I'm looking at people that are just don't look right. But there's a whole chapter in the book about, that situational awareness, which I think is a really important thing as a martial artist and as a civilian. And it can save you from having a lot of problems by being aware. One of the biggest things I tell women, and I tell my wife this all the time, I go, do not walk around talking on your phone or looking down and texting. You look like a victim. And I said, when you're walking down the street, if you make eye contact with someone, do it only briefly. In jail or prison, you make eye contact with someone, it's a challenge. So, you do it only to, if you do, just, give them a head nod and just, respect. But let them know you're aware, you're paying attention to what's going on. And if they have bad intentions, they're going to go to the next person, not you.
Let me ask you guys a question, because I need to do this. Like whenever someone drives like a complete asshole, I have to see them, because like Sean, you were talking about like identity of people. It's like you kind of could gauge someone's temperament by how they look, how they carry themselves. So whenever I'm driving and someone pisses me off out here in Vegas, which is, by the way, the biggest melting pot hybrid of crazy driving you'll ever see on planet Earth. If you guys have never been out there that are listening, this thing is a mess. There's people from all over the place. If there's a car accident, there's helicopters and fire trucks. It's terrible. So whenever I get cut off, though, I need to see what the person looks like. I don't know what that is, but I need to see, are they as dumb as I think they are?
I understand that, and that's a natural inclination. But the fact of the matter is, if somebody's already driving like that, they're in an unbalanced state. They're potentially looking for a problem. So many people carry weapons with them, especially if you're with your significant other or a child or anyone like that, it is best to, I say in the book, sometimes it's better to swallow your ego than to swallow your teeth, because there are a lot of people out there with bad intentions. And, I know for myself, I mean, look, I'm a man and I'll stand up for myself, but I've also got a lot to lose. And so I gauge, is it worth, me maybe swallowing my pride just a little bit for my safety and the safety of those I love? Look, if there's a time to fight and strike, there's a time to fight and strike. But seeking it out sometimes like that, and I've done that before too. I'll cop to that. It's courting a situation that doesn't have to happen.
Absolutely. Especially out here
Sean,
in
you know what
Vegas.
this reminds me of? I just wanted to say really quick, Sean's got a story, and this totally is attributed to that, where he gets in an accident, and the guy that's in the other car, I think he said it was Van Damme. It's like you said, you've got to be careful who you're around and who's in your surroundings. He literally was ready to get out of his car and go after this guy, and here's Jean-Claude Van Damme, and it's like, oh hey, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
And the funny thing is, here we are on the side of the 405 freeway, and we're talking like a couple of buddies. It could have gone horrendously differently, but because of how we both handled it, we had this really funny chat, and it's a funny story now instead of something that could have been, a violent confrontation.
Absolutely. Like I said, especially out here in Vegas, I mean, people got firearms like crazy. For me, I don't want to have any confrontations of any sort, but I just want to see how dumb someone looks when they drive like an asshole. I got to figure it out. I'm like, why you look as dumb as you drive?
Somebody like that might be looking for somebody to come look at them. It gives them the opening they're waiting for to take it to the next level.
Absolutely. Sure. So could we hear about a little bit of this conversation with Van Damme? Because this is super fascinating.
All right. And then I got to go because I got to do another one of these.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. I appreciate your time, bro.
I was on the 405, and it was a really busy freeway in Los Angeles. And there was an accident, and my car and this other car kind of got forced off the road, and we were about 100 yards apart. And I don't know what I was thinking. I was a stupid young kid, right? And I slammed the door, and I'm going to go tell that guy what I think. And as I'm getting closer to this guy, I'm like, holy shit, he's knocked together pretty well. I better slow my roll here. As I got closer, I didn't know it was Jean-Claude Van Damme, because at that point he was Jean-Claude Van Berenberg. And he proceeds to pull out this album of photos showing me Predator, and he was the Predator. And he's like, oh my God, I quit this job. I was down in Mexico and it's so hot. And he's telling me this story, and it's really funny. And it was just, and later as he became Jean-Claude Van Damme, I was like, holy shit, that was Jean-Claude Van Damme. And later I almost played his brother in the Kickboxer movie. And wow. It's funny the way things kind of happened. But like I said, it turned out to be a good, funny story instead of one that could have been potentially not so probably.
Speaking about roles in movies real quick before I let you go, brother, Mortal Kombat just released a movie, and I thought it was pretty decent. It was very violent, and they hinted at, Johnny Cage at the end of the movie, Johnny Cash rather, at the end of Johnny Cage. No, I was right the first time. Yeah. And dude, I think that's a role meant for you. So,
it's funny say that because I auditioned for Johnny Cage in the original Mortal Kombat.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Pat Johnson, who did the choreography for all the Karate Kid movies, was doing the choreography for Mortal Kombat, and Lyndon Ashby, who is quite a good actor, wound up getting it. We sort of look a little bit alike, or we did then. And I guess they had another film with Lyndon Ashby and I want to say Kevin Costner that was coming out. And I think that kind of tipped the scales to him getting the part. But I thought I would have made a damn good Johnny Cage.
That's why I brought it up. Johnny Cage, man. Hopefully we get it, because they hinted at the end of the movie, spoiler alert for people listening, that Johnny will be entering the Mortal Kombat universe. I thought it was a good film. I thought the martial arts was great in the film. And hey, man, you definitely fit the bill. And I thank you guys so much. Adam McKinley.
I love both you guys. Adam McKinley.
Kanan.
Love you, man.
We're going to have to get together, man. We'll talk after. And
we'll talk after, and we're going to set something up, and we're going to push each other to the limits, and it's going to be crazy.
All right. One more time, waythecobra.com. Please buy my book, read it, tell other people about it. I really think you'll love it. All right, you guys, take care.
Be good, Sean.
Later,
Thank you
Sean.
so much, brother.